All right, every day we rise, it's a great day to be alive. And I'm Slim Overton, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. And we are here today, of course, I forgot to say, featuring host and moderator of our morning shows, our Monday morning shows, Thomas the Colonel Chapman, along with co-host Leah Drake Stitt, who is the host moderator of our Thursday evening shows. She'll be along shortly. And we have a special guest with us. He's no stranger to Portsmouth Coffee Talk. He's been on there before, and he is co-owner with his wife. His name is Terrence Austin. He's co-owner of the Printed Word Bookstore, and a veteran, ex-veteran, and a Cleveland Browns fan. So I had to throw that in. But that just shows you, if you're a true fan, you stick with them through thick and thin. So, and he's been a Cleveland fan for years, just like the Colonel and I are Dallas fans, and we stick with them. We fuss, we complain about them, but that's our team. The boys are our team. The boys are back in town. But anyway, here we are this morning, and we're gonna. Before we get started, before I turn it over to the Colonel, we're gonna. If you're watching on Facebook, please like and share your page with others, your friends, family, and foes as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And we welcome your comments, especially today, because this is a host show. And our host shows is when we talk about the current local, national, state, or whatever else that comes up and current events. So our title today will be Surviving the Lies Approaching the Election. And, it's been plenty of those. So we're going to start. Colonel, it's your show.
Yes, thanks, Slim. And thank you, Terrence, for coming on in. And I got an observation. Both of us being military men and being that hypervigilance and all this, with Mr. Trump talking about all the stuff he's going to do with Project 2025. I see that, you're in a book at your bookstore. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you make a 180 and look at your what you have behind you have a book of Obama. I see you have a black doll baby off to one of your shoulders and some black thing. When Mr. Trump comes back in office on January 20th, if that's the case, that has to come off the walls. That can't be sold, because anything of minority that associated with blackness has to be banned. What say you? Is that a possibility?
Thanks for having me, gentlemen, Mr. Overton and Colonel. That's very concerning. That's very concerning. However, I have something. We have books in our store for everyone, okay? Because like I shared with Mr. Overton this weekend, there's more people that come in my store that don't look like me, okay? We have over 2,000 books here in the store. So I have something for everyone. I have a very diverse selection of books. Believe it or not, there's a few books in here with Mr. Trump's face on there. So again, we're equal opportunity employer. We have something for everyone, because all kind of readers come in here, and it's not always about what I like to read, but it's about what the public likes to read. So we have something in here for everyone. But to get to what you said, that is concerning. That is concerning. And I've read close to half of Project 2025, and there's a lot of things in there that concern me. A lot of things that concern me.
Yeah, and I say that, yes, and so you have a lot of stuff, wide variety, but with Trump, there is no halfway. There is no 90% his way. It's either all way or no way. And he's I was listening. He's reiterated that, yes, I'm going to put General Milley for a tribunal. I'm calling back the active duty, and we're going to put him up for a court martial. Try to put him behind jail because he called out, said he was a fascist. Is the worst fascist out there. And what he has said is fascism. He, from day one, with the Supreme Court, this Supreme Court that he owns now, and this right-wing Supreme Court, he will be a dictator on day one. So this possibly, this will not even possible, will be our last free and fair election. And it's going to be not even close per se, because all the gerrymandering that the Republicans have done, and the purging of voting, right? Especially when the Justice Department has gone out and sued state of Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia about purging those votes. And when it comes down to it, you'll see that this Confederate governor, McDonald, when we get the data, where did he purge those votes? And I'll bet you it's in wide Democratic voting areas. And we're going to find that out as time goes on, because McDonald swears out he's a moderate, but he's just another Trumper, another white supremacist in a suit that talks moderation. But I digress.
Right. And that's why it's so important. Again, all Americans get out to the polls. Everyone get out and vote. Everyone play their role, do what they're supposed to do, and make it clear who they want to be in the Oval Office. That's why it's so important for all to come out. And then in addition, not only voting, but I'll bring it close to home locally, get involved. I'm involved here in the community with several things that we do, because I know it takes more than just voting. It takes being active. And one of the things that I do, no matter who's in office, I try to be active. When I don't try, I am active. I am active, and I get involved. And where I see, how would I put it, where there's a need to serve and to change and to, improve things, that's what I'm going to do. So no matter who's in office, and I've been doing that for a long time, being involved. So, how would I put it? I voting is one thing, and I do that, but I also serve too.
Yes. And service is paramount to our freedoms. And
yes, sir.
If you look at when you are on active duty, I see so many people and talk to so many people in uniform today that aren't voting. And I tell them, you're here to defend democracy. You could be sent overseas or somewhere and to hoist a gun and fire a bullet or push a button and let the bombs go. But you're shirking your responsibility by not doing the first thing that we all have a right to do, is to vote.
That's true. That's true. And I work around a lot of young people, Colonel. And several months ago, you're right, there was a lot of how would I put it? No interest. There was very low interest. However, when the ticket changed, that changed. A lot of people, went and contacted their state to get their, ballots to, vote absentee. And, so I've seen, a shift in that. And that's a good thing, because I remember the first time I voted as a young, sailor many, many, many years ago. And for years, I voted absentee ballot, in the state of Ohio, and then later the state of Florida. So that has shifted a little bit, which is a good thing,
Which is a great thing, actually.
Yes, sir.
The more people that participate, the better it is for our country. But I fear for the folks that are sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
And I hear, and I say President Obama came out and made a speech over the weekend. We called out supposedly the black men that are sitting, the young black men that are sitting on the corner, that are express ideas of supporting Trump. And then when you ask them, and they are low information voters, because anything that they could come up with, I like his policies, and the policy he got, they talk about, are that $2,500, that $1,500 stimulus check that Nancy Pelosi gave them. And Nancy was, Speaker of the House, and she put that in there to keep the economy going. Wow. Trump was allowing 5,000 to 7,000 people to die every day, especially in our neighborhoods across this country. 5,000 to 7,000 people were dying a day 4 years ago. And so we asked the question, are you better off today versus are you when Trump was in office? So your grandmama, aunts, uncles, wives, cousins, everybody else was, we're in the process of having the country locked down. Just think of that. We're having a 9/11 every day, 2 9/11s every day across this country. And
COVID was no fun. It was no fun. And there's still reminders, of COVID, because it's still here, and there's still people getting sick. And I know there's certain places where I go, I still wear a mask. I wear a mask. When I'm in a hospital, I put on a mask. When I'm in a crowded place, I put on a mask. So it's still amongst us. And we were having this conversation the other day, because I lost some family members, unfortunately, due to COVID. I lost some family members. So and I remember too, I work outside at the Coast Guard base, the outdoor gym. And I remember during COVID, that was the only place to work out, was outdoors. And I still go over there and work out, and because I'm appreciative of the fact that that's all I had during COVID, because I'm trying to stay healthy, stay fit and lean and in shape. And, the gyms were shut down for a long time. However, thank God over there at the Coast Guard base outdoor, outside, I was able to go work out. So I was telling the young fella that the other day, I said, hey man, this was the only gym that was open, during COVID. This was the only place where we could go. So I still come here, I still go there.
And, we can't let that piece of history, which changed history, be forgotten. And so all of those people that says, I like yesterday, then they forget about that piece of history. They also forget about how, and you're just now hearing some of the stories of how Trump has used the federal government to come out against his distractors. Anybody who's talked about or said anything against him, the old FBI director, all of a sudden he turns the IRS on them. They get these audits of their tax returns all of a sudden, on and on again, that what he has done. And Dave, you talk about Project 2025, lays out what he is going to do from day one. And he can do it. And this get to this mass deportation thing that he wants to do, 1 million people, say in the first month. It's going to for him to do that, he's going to have to call up the National Guard and the military to do that. And you can't tell me, he's already said he's going to sweep up American citizens. American citizens, and we will have 5-ton, or we'll have National Guard troops from Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, going through the cities, Democratic cities. What are we gonna do that when they run down, when they're down in Portsmouth Boulevard or down in High Street? And I can't think of the High Street where that 7-Eleven is, with all the guys there.
Where guys are standing out there wasting time all day long,
Yeah, marking
standing
time,
around wasting time. Yeah.
And one of the boys from Georgia just opens up with a 50 cal, said he was threatened, and nothing happens to them because they're allowed to do that. They want to cleanse the street from the vermin, and anybody of color are vermin. It's just not Mexican or vermin. It's anybody of color. What are these people going to say?
Yeah.
And it's not hyperbole. This can happen and will happen.
Right. Yeah. And I pray it doesn't, Colonel. And I hear where you're coming from. I pray every day. I pray that it doesn't come to that, but I understand, and I see where you're coming from. But I pray it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. Hey, Colonel, in terms of, as far as the title of Surviving the Lies Approaching the Election, Trump has become a master of the lies and also repeating them. He's not even campaigning. He's just creating the lies. But the most disturbing thing is when he says something and the people that come up, just like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, try to tell us what he meant. And the same thing with our governor. And you mentioned our governor earlier, Colonel. And these people that are not only they're lying for him, he says, he means what he says when it comes out his mouth. And they try to twist it into something. This is what he meant. And we heard it the first time. Yeah. And that's more disturbing. We used to his lies and we know he tells them. But the amount of people he has that are lying for him, leading up to the election. And, we say that, letting Leah in, we say that he has his base, but it's so many people out there that all they hear, they don't take the time to research the lies. They just heard the lies. And just like you're talking about those guys on the corner, they might be some of the guys that heard what they heard and take it as the gospel. And that's why I think, the closer we get to the election, even though we know he lies, those undecideds out there, could be possibly listen to those lies, especially when you have prominent people backing them up.
Right. Well, you know what, and it begs the difference when you talk about our governor. I would say he's not my governor. He's just the governor of the state of Virginia, but he is not my personal governor because I don't support anything that he wants to do and anything he's done. And so I also look at, can't wait till 25 till the election comes and till we get another shot of replacing him and Miss Hairdo Spears. I call him Miss Hairdo, and the Attorney General, getting all three of them out of the highest offices in the state of Virginia. But I think Ross, he's in the Senate now. He's running for lieutenant governor next time.
Yes, and the Jones is running for lieutenant attorney general.
Attorney General.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can get them all out next year, and so we have to, start talking them up and not letting the Republicans and this Confederate governor start tearing them up early and with the lies. And speaking of lies, since you mentioned lies, did you see where Mr. Trump tried to fake that he had worked in a he said that
McDonald's drive-through or something like that?
Drive-through.
Okay.
And so he is so nasty and don't want to follow the rules So he takes his coat off, puts on a jacket, and fakes like he's doing some fries. He got some right wing fry cook there saying these are the best fries forever, and there's ever been made, and it's all automated. But he won't even put a hairnet on.
Yeah, it's funny he picked McDonald's, the very place that Kamala Harris worked.
Yeah, because that's the
brand. He tried to say she didn't work there.
Yeah. And he also said, "Oh, I checked with the McDonald's, or my people checked where the place that she had worked, and here it is. She had worked there 20 years ago. It says this manager had been there forever, but that manager ain't been there. So what kind of mess is this? You tell me somebody that the ownership probably from that McDonald's franchise has changed over 3 or 4 or 5 times, but there's nobody has been there 30, 40, 35 years that's going to remember every employee, part-time employee that has come through there. It's just lies. That's all he does is lie. And how can you expect anything other than that? But Lee, I see you popped in there. What say you?
Well, I tell you, we have 15 days and we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do. I just saw a young man from Atlanta. They were interviewing him yesterday, and he was saying how he'd rather vote for the man who could duck than for the woman, for the man who could duck a bullet than for the woman who ducked questions. And I really don't know what he has been listening to. For him to say that she's been ducking questions and she's been on every media that you can think of, answering all of the questions. He has not been anywhere addressing any questions. And if he has been there to address questions, if they ask him a question that he doesn't want to answer, he starts going off in la la land. As he says, he starts weaving, whatever this weaving is that he's doing. So,
the weave.
And then to hear his brother say, well, I know a lot of black guys who are going to vote like I vote because they feel the same way that I feel. And the only reason they're not saying this is because they don't want to address this in front of their wives. That's a sad state of affairs. A sad state of affairs.
You know what that reminds me of, Miss Leah, what you just shared. And good morning. A couple weeks ago, I was listening to the Clay Kane show. I love Clay Kane and Karen Hunter, on urban radio. But Clay Kane was talking about a young man that he had a conversation with in the barbershop. Young man who, and not to rip the young man, but Clay said, hey, this was a young man who had like 3 different, child mothers. He was selling drugs. And then he was saying, what, are the Democrats, doing for the community? What are Republicans doing? And, the guy had to call him out and say, hey, man, you have 3 different children's mother and you selling drugs, what you have to say doesn't really matter. So a lot of times when I hear that kind of stuff, I have to check the source,
And you know what, Terrence, also, my question would have been to him, are you really registered to vote?
Right, exactly. And probably not. He probably is.
He's probably not even a registered voter, He just wanted to be on TV and put these lies out there on TV, Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. It's the same thing with the guys that are paid to fly around and they put them up in a cheap hotel to stand behind Trump with the latest garb on, Trump, blacks for Trump, or something for Trump. Yeah. And you see them all the time. And it's the same jokers from across the country. And there's not enough money in this world for me to debase myself and my ancestors, for me to say anything good about this nasty traitor to this country. And that's as far, and since I'm on the electronic airwaves, I can only say so much.
Yeah, I had to show that message from your wife.
Happy birthday, Colonel.
Oh, happy birthday, Colonel.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Colonel even works on his birthday. Colonel works on his birthday.
Yeah.
So you got one more year before you join the club, Colonel?
Yeah.
You know which club I'm talking about.
Yep, I know. I got one more year, but that's all good. But on this day, I'm gonna be like Jimmy Carter. Today, I go to vote. He
and
did
we
it
should
on the
all
100th.
and we should all be voting early.
Yes, and I will be that is on my task list today. As soon as I get out of here.
Yeah, let me say this about as we talk about lies. I have to blame the media. As we were talking earlier about how the brothers are voting, and how a lot of the media outlets are putting out this false narrative, like so many of the brothers are going to Trump, but the numbers show at least 70 to 80% are Democratic voters, and that's the way they're going to go. But they try to put this out there, and like it'll make a difference. The difference makers, as far as voters, are going to be white women.
You better believe it. That's right.
Not black men. The way they vote is going to help. But if you talk about balancing, which way the pendulum is going to go, it's going to be on the white women, and you can't keep bringing up black men like what we do is going to hurt our vice president. But it's not. If anything, with the way the brothers going to vote, is going to help her. So they just keep putting this false narrative out there, and we know how many of those brothers that you know personally that think and talk like that, because they probably won't even be around us, for one thing.
Right. Yeah, I don't have them in my
circle.
circle.
Know many of those brothers
I don't have them in my circle.
Or would admit it.
Yeah, they're not around me because I call them out.
We also have to blame the media for the way they've been sharing the stories, because when Joe Biden was out there, they kept talking about the demise of Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he's losing it. He's old. He can't string two sentences together. But yet and still, Trump, they won't talk about January 6th in the mainstream media. They're not talking about the way that this man cannot string two sentences together. He can't string a thought together. They can't talk about the fact that he may be, in my own opinion, bordering on a little dementia, but they're not putting any of that out there, but they're talking about Kamala. Everything is about Kamala now, and we have to blame the media, how the media has handled this. They stayed on Joe Biden when Joe Biden was out there, but they're not discussing these negatives about Trump to the extent that they expressed it about Joe Biden.
I think Trump is a narcissist. Trump is a narcissist, and that's problematic within itself. Most people that have that kind of behavior need counseling.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of part of it is that they are scared, and the country is running scared of the alternative. If he should get back in office, they know that retribution is coming, and they know they did it in the past, but they're not doing their due diligence now. Is that, like Leah said, to ask that secondary question when that brother got up and said all this stuff, is saying, ask all you got all these baby mamas and probably have done time. Can you vote? Are you registered? And can you vote? And have you ever voted? And I bet you, if in truth saying, they've probably never voted. Well, if they did, they might have voted for Obama twice, but that's probably a no. They probably didn't vote at that time.
And to add to that too, again, what are they doing in their community? What are they doing in their community? What are they doing to to make things better? That's the big thing. When was the last time you maybe picked up some trash somewhere? Where was the last time you served at a homeless shelter? When was the last time you did anything to make the situation better? That's the key.
Yeah, and the key word is volunteer.
And
anybody can do something for pay.
That's right. And also, we have to take into consideration, if this man is on the demise, if he's slowly losing it and he loses it completely, can you imagine J.D. Vance as president? This man has a year and a half political experience. He brings nothing to the table. And my thought is the Federalist folks want to get Trump in because they know that soon Trump's not going to be able to function. And if he can't function, they already got J.D. Vance in his pocket. So in their pocket. So J.D. Vance will do whatever the Federalist Society want him to do. He's already a part of the Project 2025. You know, he's already a part of that. So he would be the leader of this country. It would not be Trump. And it'd be Elon Musk and the Project 2025 team who will run this country. Trump will have no say-so in this at all.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And just think about where Elon Musk comes from.
South Africa.
Yep.
Apartheid South Africa is where he's from.
With no constitution to protect America.
And no Supreme Court.
They don't need the Supreme Court anymore because there's no constitution. It'll be a dictatorship. They'll put himself in, and Trump, even though you say he did, yes, Trump's mind, he has dementia. That's why you have him have these spurts talking about Arnold Palmer's
oh, please. I couldn't believe that.
Stuff like that. Or you go to a Catholic dinner charity and you're cussing out there. That's what you do when you have dementia. And and we have to stop beating around the bush to talk about saying that he's in a mental decline. He's already there. He is already there. You look at what he was 4 years ago versus how he is declined now. He has dementia. He is striking out. You have those bursts of just saying inhibitions. You say anything.
And sundown, because he don't function well in the evening.
Yes.
So he's suffering a little sundown syndrome there too.
Right. Yes. So the other thing you mentioned is Supreme Court. So immediately within this first year or so, you're going to get 2 more Supreme Court justices retire. Clarence and Alito. That'll put 5 of them up there. What was and he's already said you don't put anybody on the Supreme Court under 30 or over 30. So they'll be up there forever.
And Colonel, and one they said he has in consideration is that the woman down there in Florida, the one who blocked that case down there.
There's she's not even qualified.
She's not even qualified for the job that she has now.
Yes.
Her Supreme Court has overturned her not Supreme Court, but her the court overall. They had to overturn her so many times in decisions that she's made.
Yeah, because she's a political hack, and it shouldn't be that way. But he has put over 300 of those same type of unqualified judges out there, deemed by the grading agency for justices, for lawyers, that were unqualified. He's got over 300 of them sitting in our district courts, appeals courts, and across this country, that he has tainted our justice system. It's tainted our justice system. So we can't allow him. And there's another, say 150 openings to 150 to 200 openings in the court systems now that Biden can't get anybody through because he doesn't have a real majority in the Senate to get him confirmed because of Manchin and the girl down there in Arizona. So these are dangerous times.
Yeah. So let's not give Trump the whole hour. Let's talk about some of the things that our vice president is doing. And speaking of lies, how do y'all feel about how she handled herself during the Fox? Because you talk about going everywhere, and I'll say Trump one last time. Trump counseling everything and just putting out his talking points. But who would thought she would go to Fox? Well, I'm not surprised that she would go there.
Yeah,
She's a seasoned prosecutor, so she can handle anything. She could handle a sit down with the devil, I think. But who would think she would? And I think she was there with Fox. That's just my
I give
opinion.
her credit for going into what you can say is enemy territory. I listened to that interview the next morning on YouTube, her interview with Brett Baer, and she handled herself well. And at first they tried to deem it as that, it was a very, very hostile interview on both parts, where it wasn't.
And
He tried to corner her, and she handled herself well. I listened to that, and I listened to it, and then I just read the comments. I didn't leave any comments. I'm very careful of what I say and what comments I leave, based on, my job. But I read through the comments, and again, of course, most of them were against her, but I think she handled herself well. She did.
And some were trying to say she was an angry Black woman because she stood up for
wasn't.
herself.
No, she wasn't.
She was not an angry Black woman.
Say what if she was?
And I hate that term too. I hate that term.
I hate it.
I hate
She
that
should have
term.
been angry.
With a deep passion, I hate it, Terrence.
Yeah, I hate that
when
term.
we express ourselves with compassion, and we are passionate about how we express ourselves, then you want to immediately say, we're an angry Black woman. I don't like that at all.
Yes. She did the best she could and really ate that, just tore that interview up. She did the best. And you look at Mr. Trump, only goes to friendly territory. He always, it was what with nothing
Harris
but
Faulkner.
Yeah, and Faulkner and the rest of these non-Americans, people that don't believe in democracy, and these so-called town halls with pre-screened Republican voters. So he doesn't talk to the American people. He only talks to his people. But if any of the media says anything, they need to also say, when they say he went to and got crazy doing a town hall, they should always say this is a pre-screened, one-sided interview, a town hall, that he couldn't even handle that when they slip out a question of just like when he was at McDonald's, he did the weave on, do you still believe should these people get minimum wage? Couldn't even answer that. Yes or no question. And that's the second question should be asked. That's a yes or no answer. He can't do that. Or what are you going to do for childcare? Goes into weave and talk about immigration or drill baby drill. But I'm not going to answer the question on childcare. For these young Black men that talked about when you say about loan repayment, that all stops the day that he takes over it. If you look at Project 2025, that no longer exists. So that discussion is over. And you look at what Biden has done. He's given out billions and billions of dollars of loan repayment that were actually hemmed up during Trump's administration, because they only approved less than 5% of the folks that got loan repayment. But all that stops. And they've in the court systems, because you have these attorney generals, like in the one in Missouri, have stopped them and saying that it's going to hurt the interest payments that these companies are would be getting if Biden gave more loan repayment. The state of Missouri wouldn't get any of that money. But I wish that Biden would just turn around and says, okay, I can open up for the loan repayment. If your state attorney general wants to opt out, then let them screw your own people and move on and say, and then we're going to do this for the next 90 days or 4 months that I got in office, and screw them. Screw the court system.
Mm.
Yeah, and Colonel, I think something else. I think something else that people were saying about Vice President Harris, that the different platforms she was going to, she didn't need to go to. But we've talked about this on this show. Sometimes you have to go to where the people are. And
That's
some of
right.
those platforms she went to was Charlemagne the God and the Sway Room. Some of those people, that's all they watch. So, they're not watching Karen Hunter, or those things like that, or Roland Martin. So, so she went to where she needed to go to, because it might have been some voters in there that been hearing the general news that was being put out there, that was a lot of lies, and she went straight to them and was able to answer
Sway in the
those
morning,
questions.
and
So I think
the Breakfast Club have
that was a
huge
good
following.
move. It should have been done a little earlier, but better late than never.
Well, Slim, there is no earlier, because one, she's had to do a whole a year. Usually you run for president at least a year and a half. She's had to turn around this thing since the late July. That's when she got the she got the baton. I've got to come up with all these policies. I've got to raise all this money. I've got to hire new staff. I've got to change everything. From a year and a half, I've got to cut it down to get it done right now. And then so people talk about one, she's not everywhere. She was visiting all these states in North Carolina, Arizona, all the swing states in support of Joe Biden and the ticket.
It just wasn't publicized.
It's not publicized because nobody cared. And the right-wing news was not carrying that stuff. The only thing they do, if you look at Fox News, which I call state-run TV, they only cover, they twist everything to be negative in this country. And I'm like Obama says, Trump talks about his first 2 years in office. That was Obama's economy. It's just that he jacked it up during COVID, the last 2 years in COVID. And reason because he jacked it up in COVID and didn't have a plan, because his thing is, I'm going to destroy the legacy of Obama. He threw out the playbook of how to deal with COVID from day one, threw the binders out that he had sitting up there, how to deal with a national emergency, with a pandemic and stuff like that. So they had no clue. And the same thing is going to happen this time if he does it. The only playbook he has is Project 2025. And if COVID we talked about COVID, should rear its head again, all the experts that the Biden-Harris team put in, they will all be gone, because they will be part of the 100,000 civil service workers that they put out on the street. So you think COVID last time was bad? Let another emergency like that happen, which is right down the corner. It's all a possibility. So just like one of our readers, there's listeners today, says, get out and vote early. Avoid the lines. Get your vote.
You'll be in and out in 10 minutes, Colonel. In and out in 10 minutes.
Yes. It's not even 10 minutes. Get out and do it. And
another lie that was being put out there, that, since President Harris has been laying out her policies, they were saying that she was going against Biden's, policies. And Biden has come out, but you don't see it to other places, said that she is going to make her own path and be her own president. So he's supporting whatever she's doing and whatever she's saying, especially if she sort of deviates from his policies a little bit and turning them into hers. But they tried to make it seem like she's going against the grain against him, and he shouldn't be saying that. But you need to just listen to the players, the actual players in the situation, rather than the talking heads that are out there in the social media, or not social media, because we're social media, we're telling the truth, but out there in the mainstream media.
And one thing I think about the young man, I think it was in Pennsylvania, when people talk about, well, what has she done as vice president? She can't show us what she's done as vice president. That young man, the student at the college, I think it was in Pennsylvania, or someplace out there, where he
I saw
said,
that.
he said, with anyone who has gone to a government class knows that the vice president only does what the president allows her to do.
Yep.
She cannot have her own policies, her own mandate. She has to follow what the president has set before her. So you can't sit back here and say, well, what has she done as vice president? Because she only went as far as she was allowed to go as vice president. So you can't
I
hold
saw
that.
that. That was encouraging.
He
He's a
was very
sophomore.
encouraging. In fact, he was offered a
Sophomore in
job.
college.
He was offered a job on MSNBC. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
After the news picked it up.
but at least he it was something that I think that those who don't really realize what the role of the vice president is, they needed to hear it, and he put it out there in a very good way.
Yes. And, you know, and to reiterate that is the role of the vice president. She has done more in those 3.5 years than, say, Mike Pence did in all of his years, 4 years, except for January 6th or during that time. Because the majority of the judges that Biden did get through had to be brokered with she was a 51st vote to get them in, because the Republicans had 49 staunch people that against every judge that he's put in. Every judge, they voted no. And all the key legislation, the Inflation Reduction Acts, the infrastructure bill, any bill of substance, she was the tie-breaking vote, because the Republicans in the House and the Senate voted no. And you can look at the bills that were passed in the first 2 years when they had the House, Senate, versus when they lost the House, and look at what the House has put through in the second 2 years. The only thing that the Republicans have done is put up these BS investigations. And that is it. And been forced to do CRs because they can't pass a budget. They can't do anything. They don't do any legislation. Nothing other than try to tear down this country.
Yeah.
What do you think, Terrence?
Vote. That's it. That's all you can do.
Amen.
Yeah. Vote,
Amen.
vote, and what else? Put your gloves on and get ready to work.
Yes.
And take your family with you. Take your neighbors with you when you go to vote.
Yeah.
Knock on your neighbors' doors and ask them, are you registered, or can you vote? Let me take you to the polls so that you can vote. Let's get out here and make it happen.
Yes.
We have a task ahead of us, a real heavy task.
That's it. That's it.
And also, I hope the military is in tune with making sure they go out and vote, because I know a lot of them, while you're active, you can't say a lot of things that you want to say or express yourself like you want to, but you can vote. You can put that vote in. And
over where I work, Colonel, Mr. Slim. Every command has a voting officer, because again, you got kids from all over the place. And I had the opportunity to speak to the voting officer a couple of months ago. And, she shared with me how she's getting out. She gets out, steps from behind her desk and goes around and encourages, the sailors to, how would I put it, to get involved. Of course, you don't tell people who to vote for. I never tell anyone who to vote for. I just say, hey, get active. You're an adult now. Yeah, you may be 19, but, you're away from your parents' home. You're an adult now. You're no longer a kid. And reach out to your state and see, what seats are open, who's running for school board in your local area and who's running for, all these judges. I remember years ago, the first time I voted absentee ballot in the state of Florida, they had a bunch of judges on the ticket, and I didn't know any of those people. And I reached out to a couple of deacons at the church I used to attend and told them to give me some information on, these people's stance and this and that. So it requires you to do a little bit of homework too, because when you're voting absentee ballot back in Kentucky or Georgia or Wisconsin or wherever have you, where you're from, and you're no longer there, you don't know. But, information is out there. But again, getting back to the origin, every command has a voting officer, and, the one where I am, she's out there active and passing around the ballots and helping the young sailors, register and send in their absentee ballots. So, it's there. And again, you don't push, your candidate or your feelings or whatever have you. You just say, hey, be a part of the process because you're no longer a kid. You're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
The question is, who do you want for your commander in chief?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's it.
That should be encouraging.
Yeah, you have to do your own research, and you can't really go down to the polls and at the last minute pick up saying,
it's too late then. It's too late.
It's too late. And then think that somebody's going to tell you, they're going to give you a little slip saying this is a GOP list or this is a Democratic list, or you have an independent. I took my wife down to a vote, and one of the girls out there saying, this is the vote for the sitting mayor of Suffolk.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is Suffolk.
Suffolk, yeah.
And then saying, and then I asked her, it says, are they paying you to do this?
Yeah.
Basically, I said, yeah. It was a sister girl, older lady. She says, yeah, they're paying me to. I have to say this. This is my line. And then she says, the sitting mayor was endorsed by the NAACP, which I knew there was a lie. And so you have to do your own research because some people will lie. And because we talked about the guys that fly around with Trump, Blacks for Trump is an example. They would say or do anything for the almighty dollar. And so basically, that little card she gave me, I ripped it and gave it back to her and said, get away from my car.
Yeah, you're right, Colonel, because when we went down to vote 2 Fridays ago, again, like I say, in and out in 10 minutes. But, as you're walking up, you got everybody standing out there. And there was a couple of people that I, saw, out there that, wanted my vote. In the past, I reached out to them for, a few little issues I was having, out here in Churchland, and they never returned my call. They didn't say, they didn't return my call. They didn't return my email. And I just, just kept it moving, I said, because, now it's the time to vote and your name is on there. But I remember when you wouldn't even return my call. So there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, well, and I have to chime in here and sort of put a little defense on that because my wife has worked the polls out there on election day a lot, and it's good for the people that already know, that do their research, but it's unfortunately it's a lot of people that don't do that research,
right?
That come out there on that day and have no clue of who they're going to vote for. Now, it might be people out there giving the wrong message, but there are some people out there that are helping them, and they look towards that on that election day, because a lot of people say, well, why do you stand out here on election day? People should have made up their mind. But a large majority of people don't do their homework. They do vote. So we want them to vote, but we want them to vote responsibly. And sometimes, those people will thank you because I've been out there, on election day, and they'll thank you because they had no clue. And talking to them, they don't even know who's running for what, So if you can guide them in some kind of way, hopefully, they'll go up there and won't sign in Mickey Mouse or vote for someone that doesn't have their interests, especially when you have a little time to talk to them and find out where they're coming from, and you really can help them, So, for those people that don't know or don't do the research, fine. But if you are walking up there and you know what you do, just respectfully walk by and say, I know what I'm going to do. You don't have to tear their stuff up and hand it back to them. Because even though they're getting paid, they're out there all day. And, just because when I walk up, I just say, I know what I'm going to do. Thanks a lot. And just keep on walking.
Yeah.
So I just had to throw that defense in there because I've been out there and been a part of that.
Yeah.
And been a part of that. And I know that sometimes it helps people that come on that election day to vote.
Yeah. Slim, you're correct. 100% correct. For those who don't know, but I am just the wrong man to come up and give me a stuff and try to feed me a line and to tell me a lie to my face. I am the wrong joker to do it.
Colonel, you be ready, don't you?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's just like when I go to vote today, I'm gonna have a nice anti-Trump shirt on that, and I'm waiting to be challenged by a Trumper. And if a Trumper comes out to challenge me for my right to vote, we are going to read. Trust me, you are going to read about this beatdown in front of the place today.
Colonel, don't do it. Don't do it, Colonel.
I'm saying
let's just end on this note here. It's almost time, but it's important that we let those out there know that if you're not a registered voter, you can vote up to you can register up to November 5th. Yes. Don't use that as an excuse that I'm not a registered voter. You can you can vote up until November 5th.
You can register up to November 5th, but you can't vote in this election, Liv.
You can vote, James. You can vote.
The registration stopped on the 15th.
No, but you can register, James. Go look it up. You can register to vote. It'll be a provisional ballot. All you need to do is have your ID card. It will be a provisional ballot that they will take, and you can vote up until the day of the election.
Okay.
And your vote will count. Your vote will count.
And you're right, Leah. But I'll put this up. You do not want to vote provisional unless you have to.
But if you have, I'd rather have the provisional than not at all. If they're gonna vote the right way, you know what I mean?
Yes, have something in. It's better than sitting home.
Better than sitting at home doing nothing.
And then complaining when things don't go right. When you're down in the concentration camp, or when your son is down there at the courthouse, seeing, looking at the CUD, waiting on the judge for the outcome, that he's going to get a sentence 3 times as much for some BS when he shouldn't have been down there. They just got him up in a roll up. Yeah. So it's going to hit home then. Then you're going to cry, oh, my son got rolled up. He didn't do a thing, got all these trumped up charges. Oh, but you didn't vote. And your vote says who is going to be on the police force. Oh,
well, I'll just say this personally, and Leah, you're 100% correct. But if you can avoid that, please do. But if that's the route you have to take, and you want to make sure your vote is counted, do the provisional. But think way ahead of provisional. Don't think provisional.
You got to think too, James.
You're not registered man. I'm agreeing with you, Leah. So we don't have to keep going back and forth with that.
No. I was going back to that. I was going to say that voter registration ended, so you're going to have some folks who did not get a chance to register or did not take the opportunity to register. I don't want them to think that just because you didn't take that opportunity when voter registration ended, that you think that that's the end all. It's not the end all.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, people get out and vote. Get out and vote. That's all it is. Because your future, your kids, your grandkids, everybody's future, collective futures depend on your vote. And so if you don't vote, then don't cry. And I just gave you an example of your son going down, as Tupac says, or some of the other rappers says, I'm sitting in the courtroom waiting on the outcome. If it's coming. And so I guess we're at 2 minutes till. Terrence, Leah, Slim, thank you all for coming out this great discussion today.
Appreciate it. I appreciate the invite. And I appreciate it.
Great having you, Terrence.
Yes, ma'am.
And hopefully next week we can.
Bride, I said hello.
Yes, ma'am. And Miss Lee, I had a quick question. Was that you I ran into a couple weeks ago at the Navy Fair? I was on my bicycle. You were at the ATM. Was that you?
No,
That
No.
wasn't you. Okay. I saw
Uh-huh.
someone that resembled you, and when she walked by, I said, I wonder, was that Miss Leah? But I
Uh-huh.
was at the ATM out here in church, and I was on my bicycle. Okay.
You said
Okay.
Navy Federal?
Yes, ma'am.
It might have been. I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was on my bicycle.
Right. Immediately, my mind went to Langley, but Navy Federal, yes.
Right. I was on my mountain bike.
Uh-huh. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I thought that was you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And Colonel, if you, hopefully, if you will, we can talk about local politics next Monday morning.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, if no one else has any comments, we'll see you next time.
Yeah,
All
y'all
right.
have a blessed day, and thanks again. Thank you.
The same.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.